All right, guys, so I made this video so that you guys can get questions answered while I'm not there, and hopefully to help you with kind of understanding what I need or what I'm asking for on your rubric. So first thing, make sure you're following your rubric. That has all the information. This is just a quick tutorial of what the expectations are. So the first thing is background, the why, and the food. So there are 4 parts to this. The first 3 can be done at any time. So once you get approval, get started right away on the first 3. Pretty much if you do the first 3, you're going to get proficient. And then on the last day, which is our potluck, which is November 5th, so almost a week away, you need to bring in your food, and then that will bump you up to the mastery. The one thing I will say, in order to get mastery, you have to have made this from scratch, meaning you have to provide the flour, the sugar, or whatever you're doing. You can't use a box mix. 2 reasons why. One, I want you to prove to yourself that you can make something without using a box. It will taste better and you'll surprise yourself. And then 2, I want you to be able to understand what's going into your food as opposed to like these 40 ingredients. It'll be probably a lot less, and you'll be able to see, oh, this is reacting with this to provide bubbles, that kind of stuff. So that's the reason why. All right, so I'm kind of skipping around here because the reason being, you will need to find your reaction first. So I'm going to do the example of baking soda and vinegar. So what I've done here is I have written out my reaction, and then I've also just written it in words, just to kind of make it very clear. This is something I had to Google. So like, if you are making a cake, you will specifically have to Google what chemical reaction is occurring when baking a cake, or if you're making fudge or something like that. Now, if you are stuck and you're not finding any reactions, up here is called the browning reaction. It's called the Maillard reaction. That means if you're browning, like if you're making steak and you're browning it, that caramelization is the Maillard reaction, and that would be your reaction. So when in doubt, if anything is being caramelized or browned, that's what you're looking at. So Google that. Now, you might have more than one reaction. Just choose one. Choose the easiest one, okay? And take a look at that. You will need to label your reactants and products in the equation. I didn't do that because I didn't want to give that away because it will be all the same for all of you. And then also provide evidence that your reaction has occurred. So I didn't do that again for this one, but I'll explain. When baking soda and vinegar mix, it creates bubbles, which means there's a production of gas. It fizzes, so you can hear that. And then also we see a temperature decrease. So all of those would be a sign of a chemical reaction occurring. Now, the next thing I'm going to revise. So on Monday, we'll make sure that we revise your rubric for this. But you will need to explain how your equation follows a law of conservation of matter. Or mass. But then also, if we were going to actually measure the mass of your ingredients before to the mass of your ingredients after, what special precautions would we need to take to ensure that what we started with is exactly what we ended with? Now, for most of you, it's going to be impossible because you're not going to be able to do this in a closed system. Like, for example, if I did this reaction that wasn't in a closed system, we did it in a plastic baggie, and most of you had saw in the Law of Conservation Mass Lab, this carbon dioxide escaped, not leaving the same mass as before as after. If that's the case for you, if you have some sort of production of gas, we would have to make sure that this is a closed system in order to keep that mass there. But if I were to do this without a closed system, I would see a reduction in mass, and you're explaining why that is. Okay, so again, we'll revise that objective on Monday. So go with this information, not what's on your rubric currently. Now I'm going to go back to 2.1 bonding type. So after I've developed my reaction, or after I found my reaction, I again have to go and research and Google, okay, what type of compounds are these? So look them up, copy and paste your compounds individually and say ionic or covalent, or what type of bond is this. Some of them you might find, like for example, this is kind of a combination of ionic and covalent. HCO3 is covalent, but since sodium's with it, it's ionic. So since there is a metal with that, I am making that ionic. So please ask me if you have any questions, and we can kind of look over those. But if you have a metal in there, as long as it's not two metals, which you probably aren't seeing, it probably is ionic. And then the last thing, endothermic versus exothermic. So I have an explanation here of why it's an endothermic reaction, and you will do the same for yours. Be careful here. A lot of you are going to say that so when you bake something, the temperature does increase. However, in order to start the reaction, you have to put heat into it. So when you're making a cake or you're baking something, heat has to go in to start the reaction. That should tell you the type of reaction that you have. Okay. And then place heat into your equation, just like I did up there. So both of those things need to be present for yours. Please, please, please make sure that you sign up for a conference next week. This project is a lot of, you either get it or you don't. So if I can provide you any feedback anytime next week, it would be so valuable, because if you don't, most likely you guys there's going to be some mistakes in here. And just because this content's a little bit harder, more challenging, it's a little upper level chemistry. So please make sure you sign up so I can give you feedback and we can take a look at what you need to revise, and I can give you some pointers and help you out there. All right. I will see you guys on Monday. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and kind of keep your questions, and I will hopefully be able to answer those next week. All right. Bye, guys.